Very lively conversation this morning because we welcome in studio this hour as a friend of Bill, a fellow radio talk show host, Mark Levine. Hey, Mark, good to see you.
Hey, good to be here.
How'd you make it all the way in through Hurricane Sandy? You had a special FEMA escort or something?
You know, it was easy. I'm sorry. I feel bad for all the sufferings going on in New York and New Jersey, but I don't think we were hit that bad here in D.C. I lost my power for maybe 2 minutes, and then it came right back on, and the streets were as empty as they could be. I'm used to a Tuesday morning rush hour. This was nothing coming in here.
No.
I was the only one on the road today.
Well, there's nobody on the road. The federal government has shut down, I believe, isn't it, all for the second day?
Yes,
yeah,
it
because
is.
the metro is shut down again. National Airport, Dulles, both shut down. No flights. Amtrak is shut down. So, and in New York, same thing with the subway. They got more serious problems up there because the subway is flooded.
There's some flooding, right?
And we have the regular team here this morning: Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning. Hello, guys.
Hey, hey.
Good morning.
Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, on the cameras, and Phil Backert on the phones. Now, Peter Ogburn is without power, so you have to be a little.
I don't mean to brag.
You'll have to forgive me if I stab you in the neck with a pen for showing up here with power.
A little sensitive here.
Sorry. No, but like 3 months ago in July, that was a bad storm. I mean, for people in D.C.
The ratio.
It was really hot. It was 100 degrees. You lose your air conditioning. I was out of
trees
power
all over the
for
place.
3 days. The trees were blocking all kinds of roads. I got to say, compared to that one, this one isn't as bad. At least not for us.
Yeah. No, I had power during that. Cyprian, he was without power for 5 days during that event, which is brutal.
Yeah, that one was a lot worse. And I remember, I've been here long enough to remember 10 years ago, Hurricane Isabel. Remember that? I mean, we had flooding like almost to my house. It was like the river, Potomac River, like came within feet of my house. So this is nothing.
Alexandria almost went under.
That's
right?
true. Actually, it did. Parts of Old Town were absolutely underwater.
Yeah. But for the most part, Washington, D.C., it was just a long rainstorm, which I guess is still raining outside. Don't know. It was when we came in. We came in this morning. All kinds of impacts of this storm. New York, particularly hard hit. New Jersey, Long Island bore the brunt of it. And you think about many different impacts. One is New York City's entertainment industry was pretty hard hit, including the David Letterman show.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else with that, Bill.
No, which had to go out last. No, but they had to go on last night without a key factor to the David Letterman show. Here's how it started. How the opening of the show sounded.
And now the perfect storm. David Letterman.
Okay, here comes the audience applause. The audience applause. The audience applause.
No audience.
There's no audience. They didn't have any audience because nobody could. New York is shut down. Nobody could get there. So they went on. David Letterman.
You gotta have cabs, right? No,
fewer cabs, and you try to get one.
I guess.
All the people who might have been in the subway, right? So they had no audience, and so David Letterman and Paul Schaefer, they try a few jokes without an audience. You would know, it doesn't really work. Here they are.
So here are the jokes. If we had an audience, here, let's run through some of these jokes, Paul.
Yeah.
I come out and I say, well, so much for the drought. That would have been the opening.
That would have been a funny opening. Right there.
It's a whole different perspective when you're sitting here reading them.
Well, you don't get any reaction.
No, that's about right. I got up this morning, turned on the radio, and listened for the talk show closings. I have no luck.
Talk show closings.
Talk show closings.
Talk show closings.
That's a play on.
Wait a minute. I think I hear people banging at the door of the theater, demanding to come in. Wait a minute. Yeah. We don't want to miss this.
I love that.
They need a laugh track.
So
just push the button.
Right. Yeah. They've got laugh tracks, or they have applause tracks. Too.
The weirdness of that is so funny. I love it.
I know. Well, I know what he feels like. I was listening to the talk show closings the last 2 mornings. Yes. And I didn't hear a full court press. I heard
sorry. I heard to be here.
I heard the Italian grammar school and the Potomac K through 12 or the Alexandria Middle School.
Right.
I didn't hear the full court press on the list. Okay. So again, Mark Levine's here as a friend of Bill this whole hour. Chris Geidner from BuzzFeed will be joining us a little bit later, and we'll check on how we did weather this storm with Jason Samenow from the Washington Post. He's part of their Capitol Weather Gang. But first, Mark Dan always has the big headline.
Other headlines making news on this Tuesday. Anderson Cooper is down a job. The CNN host's daytime syndicated talk show has been canceled. It will not return next year after the second season wraps in the spring. New York Times reports the cancellation, obviously because of low ratings. Anderson released a statement saying he was proud of the work that he and his staff did for 2 seasons.
I got to say, I like Anderson Cooper. I'm not surprised. You know, I think he does a really good job at 360.
He's
Anderson
a good,
Cooper.
Serious reporter. He's not an Oprah, fluff guy.
It seemed like such a good idea.
Well, we said at the time it wasn't going to work.
Of course.
Yeah.
We saw that coming from a mile away.
Hey, Levi Johnston.
Square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
Levi Johnston got married. Bristol Palin's ex exchanged vows with Sonny Oglesby, the mother of his 2-month-old daughter, Breeze Beretta. Inside Edition reports Levi wanted his and Bristol's 4-year-old son, Tripp, to be the ring bearer at the wedding, but Bristol would not allow Tripp to go to the ceremony. And to make it clear that he's not a Sarah Palin fan, Levi yesterday said he is leaning towards voting for Obama.
I think, did he really?
I love it.
That's
How
great.
perfect.
Hey, wait a minute. Now, was Sarah Palin invited?
I don't think so.
Hell no.
Not if the kid couldn't come. Come on.
I'm sure he wore a very nice sleeveless camouflage tuxedo to the wedding.
And out in Hollywood.
And for the wedding meal, they had a moose that he shot.
Yeah, but let's keep gay people from getting married. Yeah, let's let him get married and keep gay people from getting married.
Out in Hollywood, one of Tom Cruise's neighbors had a bit too much to drink. He tried climbing the fence surrounding the actor's home. LA Times tells us one of the actor's security guards tasered the neighbor, held him until police arrived. He was arrested.
Bro.
Yeah, Cruise was not home at the time. The guard did not know it was a neighbor at the time. He just shot before
Otherwise, he
looking.
wouldn't have tasered him.
Yeah, probably.
Good thing he wasn't wearing a hoodie and living in Florida.
Really.
Oh, God. Man, I'll tell you. All right, so there you go. Thank you, Dan. Indeed. Well, Mark, we've had this curious intersection, which we've been exploring this morning, between... So 1 week to go, right? And everybody's saying, oh, the October surprise. What's the October surprise going to be? It turns out the October surprise is Hurricane Sandy.
There you go.
Right? And there's a real intersection between the storm and the election in many ways. I mean, events had to be canceled. Both Obama and Romney have canceled 2 days of events. Early voting suspended. Some polling places may not be able to open. A lot of people without power. The network news, right, is not focusing on the election. People would tune in, right? Last night was 1 hour of storm coverage on all the networks. They expanded, not talking about the election at all. So, who do you think this helps, and who do you think it hurts? How do you read it?
I definitely think it helps President Obama.
Because
first of all, remember, Mitt Romney wanted to abolish FEMA. Now, of course, he's flip-flopped on that recently. Like everything else, Mitt Romney 19.0 says that now he wouldn't abolish FEMA, but of course, just 6 months ago when he was being severely conservative in the nomination battle, he said in debate he wanted to transfer that to the states. I wonder how the little state of Delaware would deal with all the devastation they're suffering right now.
well, I wonder how any state would. I mean, you know.
right.
Here, in fact,
Absolutely.
Dan, let's get Chris Christie, bring him in here. Very seldom do we give Chris Christie a role on on current TV, right, or progressive talk radio. But this was, as you say, the president, in touch with every one of the governors,
As he should
red
be.
states and blue states,
As he should be.
helping them out.
Right.
And Chris Christie, to, I'm sure, Mitt Romney's dying regret, had some good things to say about the president. Here he is.
So I appreciate that call from the president. It was very proactive, and I appreciate that type of leadership, and I appreciate the president's telephone call. And if we do need something, I've got the number, and I'll be sure to use it.
I appreciate that type of leadership. So
Wow.
it does show Obama in the role of commander-in-chief of the
It also shows that Chris Christie's running for president in 2016. If Romney wins, he'll run for re-election. Christie does better, actually, if Obama wins. I'm not saying that that's the reason Christie said
Conspiracy
that. I'm not
theorist,
saying
right?
that. I'm just suggesting it without saying it, see?
Yeah.
Just a few moments ago, by the way, speaking of Christie, he actually tweeted, "I want to thank the president personally for all of his assistance as we recover from the storm." Yeah. He's making a great case for Obama as commander-in-chief.
And what was was it he just said on one of the other?
I have to pull it up,
all right.
but he basically said Obama's doing a great job, excellent job, and thanked him for all of his help.
We have to just compare President Obama, obviously, with President Bush during Hurricane Katrina, who was out to lunch, and of course, Brownie was not doing a heck of a job. That was, of course, Michael Brown, the head of FEMA at that time, who was busy eating a very expensive meal and couldn't be bothered with something like, 1,000 people dying in New Orleans.
All right, which gets to what I think is, you put your finger on what I think is the biggest impact of Sandy on this election.
A reminder that the government can work, and the federal government often does some very good things.
And a reminder, the New York Times headline this morning of their lead editorial is, "A big storm requires big government."
There you go.
I mean, it's so basic. And yet here's Mitt Romney, who is saying not just would he give Medicaid back to the states, not just give anything to do with education back to the states, not just give Medicare to the private sector, right? You get a voucher and then
a coupon. I call it a coupon. 10% off.
You have to deal with the private insurance companies.
Right.
Everything, the auto industry. No, the federal government's not going to help. We'll let private sector take care of that. And but even when it comes to disaster relief, he is actually saying, no, get rid of FEMA, no federal role, just let the states, no federal money either. Just let the states, 50 different states do it 50 different ways.
When Republicans want to abolish spending, they say let the states do it.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's Medicaid, nursing homes, whether it's FEMA, whatever it is. They say, oh, no, we'll get it done. We'll just have the states do it.
Right.
Why do they want the states to do it? First of all, the states don't have near the tax income the federal government does. They can't fund near the program the way the federal government does. And also, state legislatures are often much more easily bought by corporations than the federal government. Look, many people do happen to know their member of Congress. Many don't. But far fewer Americans know the names of their state legislators. I ask people listening to us right now, can you name your state legislature? I hope you, I hope you can, in the Assembly and in the Senate. Most Americans can't, and that means that they're under the control of groups like ALEC, groups that are funded by big corporations.
Absolutely.
They have a lot more control, and therefore they can put the arsenic in the river, don't let the EPA around. But transferring to the states is Republican code word for abolishing the program.
Of course it is. And then you think about, after a storm like this, the roads that have to be rebuilt, the businesses that have to have some help so they can get back open again. I mean, the transportation systems, on and on. The trees that got to be cleared. I mean, the beaches that have to be replenished.
The metro and the subway are publicly funded.
All of that. And imagine the states or the cities' ability to do that without federal funding. Impossible. And that which just shows you how dangerous. So to me, this sums up what this election is all about.
That's right.
That President Obama understands the important role of government in certain areas, not always,
and
not everything. And Mitt Romney doesn't understand at all that there is a positive role of government.
And there are people that pretend that government is easy. There are people that pretend,
or evil.
Well, no, but any president could easily help disaster aid. Well, all you have to do is compare Obama with George Bush, right? Compare his FEMA with George Bush's FEMA. Compare that with Bill Clinton's FEMA, which did a very good job in the 90s with Hurricane Andrew and so forth. If you don't believe in government, you're less likely to run it well.
First one, Bill Clinton, first one to make it a cabinet agency. Absolutely. Yeah, didn't we learn anything from Katrina? Didn't we learn anything?
I would hope so.
I would hope so, too. Hey, join the conversation here anytime. We save a seat at the table for you at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter to @BP Show, and Peter will check with the comments when we come right back here on the Full Court Press. Tuesday, October 30th.
Live at current.com.
Not just a storm going on, there's still an election going on. Mark Levine, talk show host. A friend of Bill this hour. Peter, what's happening on Twitter?
By the way, quick note, because we mentioned at the top of the show that some of our websites that we go to and use for some of our information were down, that are New York-based. The Huffington Post is back up, although in limited capacity. They have a note on the site that says, due to power outages caused by Superstorm Sandy, our own website is experiencing technical difficulties. We're working around the clock to get the site back to normal. So they have sort of a bare bones situation going on at Huffington Post. So sites are coming back up. On Twitter, we're tweeting at BP Show. At BP Show, Shelley Brown says the president made the right decision to coordinate government action from the White House. Here is our national leader in the face of a national disaster.
Yeah, he's on it. He's on the job. By the way, the Obama campaign announcing this morning, President Bill Clinton will be campaigning today in Commerce City, Colorado, and Denver, Colorado, and Vice President Biden on Friday will be going to Wisconsin for his next campaign trip. So The election, it does, even if there are no campaign events scheduled for Obama and Romney. Mark, what do you make of these national polls that show Romney and Obama tied? I mean,
well, first of all, they don't matter. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's interesting to look at. But of course, we have the Electoral College. President Obama is ahead in the Electoral College. It works out something like this. I think he wins all the states we know he's going to win, plus Wisconsin and Nevada, and that gets him to 253. He only needs 17 electoral votes. Ohio has 18. He's ahead about 2 points, about 49 to 47. It is conceivable that Romney could win Ohio. It seems unlikely. He's ahead in all the polls. Pretty much all the undecided have to go to Romney, but that's where my home state of Virginia comes in, because we are the Ohio replacement. If Ohio is the most important state in the United States,
Virginia's number 2.
Absolutely number 2. And all you need is Virginia plus 1. You need 17 electoral votes. Virginia's 13 plus New Hampshire's 4. Virginia's 13 plus Iowa's 6. I think he's well ahead in New Hampshire and Iowa. New Hampshire and Iowa alone can't do it. Mm-hmm. But actually, even if Virginia doesn't make it, Colorado becomes number 3. New Hampshire, Iowa, and Colorado just make enough to do it.
So there's several ways for him to get there. The problem for Mitt Romney
he needs
is
all of
Mitt
them.
Romney needs every
He
one
must
of them.
win. I mean, again, Florida, Obama could win in Florida, the race is over. We don't have to worry about Ohio and Virginia. Romney has to win Florida and Ohio and Virginia. North Carolina, he'll probably win. And he's got to win one of Iowa, New Hampshire, or Colorado.
So the edge right now electorally, which is what
elects the president.
Yeah, that's the only.
Even though I hate the Electoral College, we can talk about that, but it is what it is.
It's the only count that counts. Is right. He's ahead, and to the extent that this storm locks anything in place,
I actually would be willing to bet Obama wins the popular vote as well, but that's a lot closer.
I do too. Hey, we're going to come back. We'll talk to Chris Geidner from BuzzFeed, so stick with us.
This is the Bill Press.
33 minutes after the hour now. Here we go, the Full Court Press. It is Tuesday, October 30. Good to have you with us. Mark Levine is in studios, a friend of Bill here this hour. And Mark, as you know, we've been talking about the big difference between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama in terms of the role of government. And the big example here, the role of federal government with FEMA in responding to Hurricane Sandy. Another big difference is on their approach to issues affecting the LGBT community, particularly same-sex marriage or marriage equality. Chris.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us. How are you? Can't get into studio this morning. I'm having.
You got a feedback on Chris's phone there. You hear that, Dan?
Chris's phone. Can we?
We'll try and get him back on the line here, I think.
From an engineering point of view, what's that all about?
The mix minus. Got to fix the mix minus.
Hey, look at you.
Thank you. All right. Okay.
Not enough radio. I know the little secrets.
All right. Dan, have you fixed the mix minus?
Mix minus should be fixed. Chris?
Hello, Chris?
Hello.
Let's try it again. I think we fixed
Get me back there
minus.
with the...
All right. Now, Chris, nice. The latest difference or window into what Mitt Romney really thinks about some of these LGBT issues just came to light. I'm going to play that clip for you. This is Mitt Romney giving a speech down in South Carolina when he's governor of Massachusetts back in 2005. Here he goes.
Its ruling meant that our society is supposed to be indifferent about whether children have a mother and a father. Today, same-sex couples are marrying under the law in Massachusetts. Some are actually having children born to them. We've been asked to change their birth certificates to remove the phrase mother and father and replace it with parent A and parent B. It's not right on paper. It's not right in fact. Every child has the right to have a mother and a father.
So, first of all, Chris, is that the same thing he was saying in Massachusetts, and what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, this idea of when he was running for president in the run-up to the 2008 run, he was really taking advantage of showing his bona fides to the conservative community. I mean, remember, this was a speech in South Carolina, And he talked about this issue that the Boston Globe had finally gotten some documents from during his governorship recently, and ran a story last week that he really pressed very hard to keep from changing the actual birth certificates in Massachusetts to reference a second parent as opposed to mother and father. And it wasn't clear that he had been bragging about this as much publicly as this video shows he did.
Well, I mean, the idea is if let's say it's two men, right, who adopt a child. In that situation, in that household, they're both the parents, and there's a father and a father. There's not a father and a mother. So, I mean, he's just lying. I mean, or asking them to lie.
What they would actually do is for birth certificates was to have them literally scratch out on the birth certificate and then put a name. And this Boston Globe report noted that when they had been doing that, they had told Romney that there was some concern that by just doing that there would be questions later in people's lives about the authenticity of the certificate and whether or not it had been altered.
Yeah. Think about any adoption. Anytime you have an adoption, you have the parents who are the parents of the child not being the birth parents. That happens all the time. If you're going to be consistent, you'd have to actually scratch the adopted parents off and put the original birth mother, who probably doesn't want her name in there anyway because she's giving up her child for an adoption. Think about the child whose parents are deceased. Every child has a father or mother. Well, some kids are born, without a father. And this whole idea that if you change reality, if you pretend it's not so, then it won't be so. Don't allow a place for the realities of life, and they won't happen. Maybe gay people won't have kids if you have to scratch out the name on the birth certificate.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, if you listen to that, the quote that sort of seemed to me to almost be more showing of where his mindset at least at that point was when he says that they're actually having children.
Right. I caught that too. Oh my God! Gay people can have kids? What? I didn't know. Maybe it's biologically impossible. Talk to Todd Aiken.
Maybe regardless of whether it's his actual view, it is like playing into that audience in a rather extreme way.
Well, where does he stand, by the way? So where does he stand on the issue of marriage equality? Do we know?
Depends on who he's talking to. If he's talking to a gay audience, I mean, look, this is a guy. No, I mean, he's never supported marriage
equality. Is the one thing, for better or worse, where he has been fairly consistent.
He's against it, right?
He's against it. Is against it and is in favor of a constitutional amendment to the U.S. Constitution that would
prevent it.
Basically negate any state that has it.
But here's the thing about Mitt Romney. I mean, he actually ran, and this is the most amazing thing to me, when he ran against Ted Kennedy, and he said, I'm going to be better on gay rights than Ted Kennedy. It's such a laughable thing. He has said so many things to so many people, and I've been talking with some people in Massachusetts who were around when he was governor, and they said the moment he got into office, he was running for president. He quit caring about Massachusetts. He understood the Democratic legislature had more than a veto-proof majority. They could do whatever they wanted. He immediately started running for president. There's a reason why. Remember, he didn't run for re-election in Massachusetts. He was down 20 and 30 points in the polls if he did. So, he was smart, I guess, not to do it. He was running in South Carolina to be president of the United States. His whole term as Massachusetts, what the people tell me there, everyone understood it was to put something on his resume. He'd never held elected office before. He's this, very rich, capital speculator, and then he goes in to get that on his resume, and he's already off in South Carolina. This is just another example of, depending on the crowd Mitt Romney's talking to, what's coming out of his mouth. What he has inside, I don't know. I think he just wants to be president.
Right. So, Chris, the last time we talked, the log cabin Republicans had not endorsed Mitt Romney.
Interesting.
And now they have. Why? Just because he's a Republican, even though he's bad on every one of their issues? He doesn't even support Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
or didn't support it.
That's true.
Well, they have said that he wouldn't have done it at the time, but they have held off, and even Paul Ryan said that that's a done deal.
Oh,
There's nothing
thanks a lot for that, right?
I mean, the log cabin endorsement, it appears was based on the sum total of it was, we don't believe that he actually is going to do anything about this federal marriage amendment, and he
won't act on those beliefs. Vote for Mitt Romney. Yeah. He won't act on his beliefs.
Right, yeah. He's a man of no
conviction. Vote for Mitt Romney.
They say. That's exactly what they say. That
There's nothing sadder than a gay Republican.
An empty gesture to the far right, and that's actually a reason why they endorsed him.
I'll tell you. Oh man, it is I'm glad
they have said the one part that they have said is that they did talk with him, Clark Cooper, the head, and Jim Colby, former representative from Arizona, and that they believe that they can work with him on employment non-discrimination issues.
You know, I used to work for Barney Frank, right?
Yeah.
You know that. So we met many gay Republicans, and there's a certain pathos around the gay Republican who so much wants to be accepted by people who really, really hate him or her. And it's kind of sad to watch.
Chris Geithner, you're on the case as always, senior political reporter for BuzzFeed. We'll be right back with the full court press. Mark Levine here is a friend of Bill, and we're going to check in with the Washington Post weather Capitol weather gang when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show. Current TV, this is the Bill Press Show.
All right, you got it. 12 minutes now before the top of the hour here on Tuesday, October 30. Yep, we all survived Hurricane Sandy somehow, but it was a lot easier here in this Washington area than in other parts of the East Coast for sure. Mark Levine, fellow talk show host, here as a friend of Bill this hour. And we go back to finding out exactly what happened with Sandy and where it goes now. Jason Samenow is the weather editor for the Washington Post. You probably didn't even know, Mark,
I didn't know they had
Washington
a weather
Post had a weather editor and member of the Capitol Weather Gang. Hey, Jason, good to have you back.
Good morning.
So we were saying earlier, compared to other areas of the East Coast, Washington didn't get hammered too bad by Hurricane Sandy, right?
Yeah, we dodged the bullet a little bit here. Our peak winds were about 60 miles an hour, and we were predicting a range of 60 to 80, so we were on the low end in terms of wind gusts here, and that made a big difference. If we had been up to 70 or 80, we would have seen a lot more trees down and a lot more power outages. Still, over a couple 100,000 people without power here in the D.C. area at its peak, so nothing to sneeze at. And of course, we've had 4 to 8 inches of rain, and Potomac River is going to crest tomorrow afternoon at the highest level since '96. So we still not done with this. So there'll be some more wind and rain today too.
That was my biggest
Peter
concern.
Ogburn is one of those without power here.
We have power now, by the way. We have power. We have power. But so there were the winds that sort of freaked everybody out. But then with the rain, there was so much rain. I actually went out back and took a quick measurement. The 37 feet of water in the backyard this morning when I checked.
What?
Yeah, we get out of here.
It was not
literally
37 feet
I'm not making that up.
Oh no,
I'm not making that up.
37 inches of water.
Nope, feet.
You have to understand. He's the Mitt Romney of this team.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm learning these things.
So what other? I mean, where else has there been flooding, and is it going to affect anything else besides the river?
It's a small stream. Rock Creek has had some a little bit of flooding here and there, and other small streams and creeks in the region. And there's been obviously some flooding of low-lying areas, basement flooding, that sort of thing. This hasn't been a massive flooding event. The rain came steadily. It didn't come all at once in a big dump. It was over a course of, now over 24 hours.
But now I'm getting worried. If he says it's the worst since 1996, because Hurricane Isabel, I moved here in 2001, and Isabel came within a few feet of my door because I live near the Potomac. So if it's going to be
in Old Town
Alexandria, is this going to be worse than Isabel?
This is different. So in Isabel, you had a tidal surge up the bay and up the Potomac River, which was over 9 feet. This is water flowing downstream just from all the rain which is collected in our area. So
it won't be as bad as Isabel then, because all of Old Town flooded in Isabel 10 years ago.
Not at all, not at all. And so today there may water levels on the Potomac from the tidal surge may rise a few feet, but nothing compared to Isabel.
You know, we were talking with Ray Stajic from the Weather Channel earlier this morning, and he said that for him, this storm is unique and the worst in his experience. And what really struck him about this storm, as opposed to any other storm, is that it's rain on one side of it and snow on the other. Yeah. Same storm.
I know people in North Carolina that said they've never gotten snow before. They were getting snow.
And Jason, we're getting snow in Virginia, not Virginia, West Virginia for sure, right?
That's right. And in fact, in Western Maryland, I saw a report of over 18 inches of snow this morning. Wow. That's in Garrett County. Which is just incredible. And this is 2 years in a row in late October. The mountains of the Mid-Atlantic have gotten dumped on, which is very rare. It's you usually don't get huge snowstorms. So yeah, you basically had a hurricane dumping snow. I mean, it was a transitioning hurricane into a more of a nor'easter type system, but sort of an exceptional situation. And blizzard warning still in effect for central Virginia mountains up through south central PA.
I think it's great that we're getting our forecast from the Book of Revelations this morning. That's really.
But don't worry, climate change is not a reality.
Yeah, right. Yeah, really.
But that seems like. And in terms of a power outages, you say about 200,000 here in the Washington area still. Is that right?
Yeah, I think looking at the post-power outage tracker for the D.C. area, it's down to about 160. It all depends on what you define the D.C. area as. Of course, across nationwide, I've seen totals over 7 million, which is just incredible.
Why was the derecho so much worse for the Washington, D.C. area, where the winds had a higher speed than 60 miles an hour? Is that why?
Yeah, we were seeing gusts, 65 to 80. In that event, and it was like hitting a light switch. It was all at once in one big blow.
I see.
It's just a very sudden and extreme situation.
Yeah.
We thought gusts might get close to that high, but fortunately they didn't, because if they had, it would have been a lot worse.
A lot more damage. Yes. Well, we weathered the storm in large part. Thanks to you, Jason. We give you credit. Thanks so much, and thanks for your time this morning, as always.
Hey,
right.
Thanks so much.
Jason Seminow. You can follow them at Capital Weather. He is the weather editor of the Washington Post. Hey, Mark, your first time in studio. Loved it.
Oh, I love it.
It was a lot of fun.
Bring me back. I got a lot more to say, as you know.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Bill.
I'll wrap it up with a parting shot when we come back.